Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last Wednesday, the Prime Minister told this House that no minister or special advisor was involved in the handling of the China spy case. Why has the House been told, including just now, that ministers and advisors were not involved in any way when the Sunday Times reports that they were? And can the Minister confirm that Dan Chugg from the Foreign Office was at that 1st September meeting? And can the Minister also confirm?
Home Secretary Chris Philp addressed the House regarding the handling of a recent China spy case. He questioned why the House was previously told that no ministers or special advisors were involved, while media reports suggested otherwise. Philp specifically asked whether Dan Chugg from the Foreign Office attended the 1st September meeting, and if he had approached the Lord Speaker with a proposed deal allowing the Chinese ambassador to return to Parliament. He emphasized concerns about the government providing potentially inaccurate information and questioned why ministers had knowledge of the CPS's request but did not act on the IN response.
It was the same Dan Chugg who approached the Lord Speaker with a proposed deal in which the Chinese ambassador would be allowed back into Parliament. Why has the government been providing this House with inaccurate information, and why did ministers know what the CPS wanted but refuse to give it to them?
Mr. Speaker, with great respect, given that this urgent question related to the activities of the Home Office, I'm not at all clear why the Shadow Home Secretary thinks it's appropriate, given accusations that have been made previously about hanging officials out to dry, to name an official in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. How does that relate to the urgent question that was asked? Now,
Shadow Secretary Dan Jarvis raised procedural concerns. He noted that since the urgent question related to Home Office activities, naming an official from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office might not be directly relevant. Jarvis reminded the House that members on the opposition benches had previously criticized ministers for publicly hanging officials out to dry and suggested caution when naming individual officials in ongoing discussions. Speaker of the House, Sir Lindsay Hall, intervened to clarify procedure. He explained that while it may feel uncomfortable, questions mentioning other departments were still within order, and the important factor was whether the questions were procedurally acceptable.
I do wonder, Mr. Speaker,
Sorry, I think I need to help a little bit. It is in order to mention another department. You can't ring fence it without other people. I'm sorry, it might not be comfortable, but the fact is the question's being asked that is within order, and that's what matters.
I'm simply pointing out to the Shadow Home Secretary that members opposite had previously criticised ministers and the government, to use their words, for hanging out to dry officials, and the Shadow Home Secretary has just named twice an official from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office.
Jarvis reiterated his point, emphasizing that previous criticism of ministers for exposing officials publicly made it sensitive to name specific officials. Highlighting the need for care during parliamentary debates, Chris Philp pressed for clarity on the government's communication with Parliament, questioning why members have been told that no ministers or advisors were involved, despite media reports suggesting otherwise. He highlighted the need for transparency and accountability in handling sensitive matters, asking the House to confirm the involvement of key officials and the reasoning behind decisions made during the China spy case. His questions focus on ensuring that Parliament had accurate information and understanding the role of the government in managing security-related issues. The exchange in the House highlighted the balance between oversight and procedure. Dan Jarvis reminded members that raising concerns about officials should be done carefully to avoid unfairly singling out individuals, particularly from other departments. The Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hall, clarified that questions spanning multiple departments could still be in order, emphasizing the importance of parliamentary process. The discussion underscored the tensions between accountability, transparency, and procedural rules when addressing sensitive government matters.